All right, hello, my friends. Today is a very good day. And why, you might ask? Well, if you're asking why, then you're not that familiar with this channel. Why is because we are going to be talking all about the birth of the Triumph Tiger 100, and more specifically, because I have a specimen right behind me, the Triumph Tiger 100C. So, let's do it. With this channel, well, shame on you. Just kidding. Welcome. What we do here, and by we, I mean just pretty much me and my phone camera. It's not very high-tech around here. But I like to cover automotive manufacturing history, motorcycle manufacturing history. I love the stories of the maverick men behind early car manufacturers, historical factors that played a part in car manufacturing. That's kind of my jam. I'm a little bit of a car history nut. And if that is your thing, or if you just want to learn more, well then press the subscribe button wherever it is. It's on one of those sides, I never remember. Now you might have already noticed there is a little bit of a motorcycle soup going on right here. And why I picked the Triumph Tiger 100C behind me is, I just picked it. I was having a hard time deciding. I've already done a video on the Harley Davidson Aramaki. I've done the Moto Guzzi Falcone, which is perfect. It's a perfect motorcycle. I think I want to do the Ducati Dharma next. And if you see a motorcycle behind me that you think would make a great video next, go ahead and type it down there in the little comment lines, wherever they are. And now just a little bit about little old me. All right, so my brother's a mechanic, my dad's a mechanic, my uncle's a mechanic. I spent most of my teenage years hanging out in our family mechanic shop that specializes in foreign and antique automotives, which you can tell why I love certain cars the way that I do. At the age of 14, I started a restoration. Those take a long time. On a 1976 Porsche 912E. If you're not familiar with what a 912E is, that's okay. It was only made one year, 1976. It has the body of a 911 and the engine of a 914, all right? I really dig automotive history, so I have tracked down over 80% of the car museums in the world and visited them, because I love that. And that's pretty much explains why you're about to listen to some blonde girl talk very quickly about cars. So let's continue. So I'm not going to dive into the history about Triumph cars and Triumph engineering just yet, and Triumph motorcycles. If you want to see that, I will have a video coming up soon. All right, let's talk about the Triumph Tiger 100. So it's 1939, and they have decided to release the Triumph Tiger 100. Now the predecessor had already been doing great. That was their Speed Twin. And they decided to do something really cool to kind of pump up the release of the Tiger. They did an endurance race between the Triumph Speed Twin and the Triumph Tiger 100. From John O Groats to Cornwall to famous Brooklands track. Brooklands is really cool. A year ago, I visited the museum and checked out their famous banked autodrome. Now, when they ended that endurance race at Brooklands, they didn't stop there. They raced both motorcycles for 6 continuous hours at high speeds. Like I'm saying, the average speed was 78.5 miles per hour. And the endurance drivers racing around the banked autodrome for the Tiger was Ivan Wicksteed and David Whitworth. The Maudes Trophy was created in 1923 by a gentleman called George Pettyt. Pettyt? P-E-T-T-Y-T. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Somebody tell me how to say it. I should have Googled it earlier. Anyways, George was the owner of the London Maudes Motor Mart. He's like, you know what? I'm going to do something cool. I'm going to set up an impartially observed endurance race and test for motorcycles. And he did. Super cool. Thanks for that, George. Okay, so all that cool stuff I just talked about, well, that happened in 1939 and it all came to a screeching halt in 1940. And why, you might ask? Well, World War II, and it sucked. The Triumph manufacturing facility in Coventry was bombed during the Coventry Blitz. That Coventry Blitz also took out the Daimler factory and the Humber-Hillman factory as well, just FYI. So really, we would have the first years of the Triumph Tiger 100 from 1939 to 1940. Now at this point, we're going to digress a little bit. Now I'm going to tell you a little story about the Second Lieutenant Sandy Campbell of the Royal Engineers Bomb Disposal Company, all right? He was a brave soul. Now he was called upon to remove a live bomb from the Triumph Engineering facility. The bomb that he was dealing with had a delayed action fuse that he was unable to remove. So he was tasked with moving this bomb to a safe location and disposing it. Now how did they do that? Well, via a lorry and a driver. So Sandy Campbell is laying right beside the bomb while his driver's just, going over bumpy roads and such. And Sandy has his ear right to the bomb, waiting to hear if it starts ticking. And if it starts ticking, he warns the driver and they both run like demons as far as they can from the bomb. Now he actually successfully took that bomb to a location, set it off, wham bam. Now the very next day, Second Lieutenant Sandy Campbell would pass away from a bomb explosion. Sucks. But his story lives on, and I'm happy that I know it, because now I can share it with you. Woo! Woo! Story took a lot out of me. Okay. Back to the topic at hand. So they stopped production in 1940, and then they began it in 1946, just outside of Birmingham, UK. Now, the essence of the Tiger 100 was to be a sports enthusiast motorcycle. It was a favorite of off-road and dirt bike enthusiasts, and really, it was considered one of the most versatile motorcycles of its time. Let me go ahead and read you some of the ad copy of the day about the Triumph Tiger 100. It's pretty awesome. Ad copy states, the Triumph Tiger 100 is an ultra-high performance machine with a specially tuned engine capable of completely satisfying the desires of all who wish to travel fast and far. At the same time, it retains that flexibility and smoothness which make it a very pleasant motorcycle when high speeds are not desired. Now, what did the 100 stand for in the Tiger 100? Well, like a lot of other cars, it stood for the claimed max miles per hour that it could attain. Just like the Jaguar XK120, all right? That's pretty common. And another thing to think about during this time period, a family sedan would probably blow a gasket going 60 miles per hour. So 100 miles per hour for this motorcycle was kind of a big deal. And at the time, it really was a lot of motorcycle for the money. And what did it cost? Well, it cost about 80 pounds at the time, $100 US. And when you think about it, that's a lot of motorcycle for that price tag. Now, the Tiger 100 had a few technical changes over the Speed Twin, its predecessor. That included forged alloy pistons, a very early use of the technology. The cylinders were forged in a single casting and held in place by 8 studs instead of the Speed Twin 6. Other new features included a larger fuel tank and detachable silencers. And also, the Tiger had about 7 more horsepower than the Speed Twin. Now at this point, I'm going to tell you about Ed Turner, all right? He was an engineer at Ariel. He created the Ariel 4 Square. He would then become general manager of Triumph, and later he'd become the chief of BSA Groups. And BSA Groups had BSA, Ariel, Triumph, car bodies, okay? All those major manufacturers of motorcycles. Now at Triumph, Ed would develop the 5T Speed engine. And many would say that that engine was based on the 9 Riley car that he designed. Isn't that the cutest? I just love that. And why that's important is because the 500cc twin engine is what went on to power the Tiger 100. So an important thing that I don't want to forget that I almost forgot to tell you was, so after that initial cease in production, when they came back out in 1946, the Tiger 100 had the all-new telescopic fork that you can see. Yeah, you know what? I've been talking too much. Let's just go ahead and walk around and take a little look at the bike. The Tiger 100C has been prepared from the factory for racing, okay? Competition is what that C stands for. It is complete with the dual amal carbs, high compression pistons, and racing cams. Horsepower is rated at 42 at 7,000 RPM. When fitted with the racing exhaust, quite an improvement over the 28 horsepower of the original Speed Twin engine. The C model right behind me was intended to celebrate Triumph's success in enduro racing, and really, not many were produced. The T100C is an on and off-road bike that sported a smaller fuel tank and headlight, along with high-mounted twin exhaust pipes. Fun fact, in 1973, author Ted Simon would drive his 1973 Tiger T100P around the world while he was writing Jupiter's Travels. He would also document the fact that his 1973 Tiger T100P was made during the year that the factory had sit-ins, okay? And he would note that the fact that those sit-ins probably affected the quality control of his bike. So Simon also circumnavigated the globe via motorcycle twice. All right, I'm about to turn into a pumpkin if I don't have some ears. It's your turn. Something mighty delicious. This is a Mexican Coke Stout from Oasis Brewery. So good, just very refreshing. Also has a high ABV, which you know I like that. It is 9.2. Thanks to my buddies over at Oasis Brewing, all of them, my favorites, not in this order. Kale, Brandon, and Josh for making such great beers and putting up with me whenever I walk over there. So thanks, guys. Random note, it was in 1966 that Bob Dylan wrecked his Tiger 100 SS, and he would not perform for 8 years after that. All right, my friends. Well, I hope you had fun in this little dip into history of the Triumph Tiger 100 and the 100C. Kind of love this stuff. It's fun. If this is your jam too, press subscribe, and I will catch you later. In the meantime, we should cheers. Cheers!